was supposed to be romantic. That was the idea. I'd spent weeks planning it. Candles, wine, music. I even borrowed a suit from my roommate, one that didn't reek of cigarettes or desperation. I was going to propose, not with a ring, not yet, but with a promise. A promise that this was going somewhere, that we were something real. She had always loved candlelight, said it reminded her of simpler times, said it made her feel safe. I never really understood that. Fire makes shadows and shadows hide things. But she smiled when she said it, and I always chased that smile. So when the power went out 2 hours before dinner, it felt like fate helping me along. I lit the candles early, lined them up along the kitchen counter, the hallway, the living room. Tiny flickering halos everywhere. It looked beautiful. Until it didn't. She arrived a little after 7. Her hair was damp from the rain, her cheeks flushed. She looked surprised by the setup, in a good way. She kissed me longer than usual. I felt something settle in my chest, like maybe I'd finally done something right. We ate slowly, talked about meaningless things, music, old vacations, the way her office smelled like mildew after storms. I poured the wine too fast. My hands were shaking. I was waiting for the right moment. But then something changed. It started with a sound, a soft scratching from the ceiling. I ignored it. Old apartment, old pipes, rats maybe. But she looked up, frowning. "Do you hear that?" "Probably the wind," I said. She nodded, but her eyes stayed on the ceiling for a beat too long. Then the kitchen candle went out. Just one. No breeze, no window open. 1 sec it was lit, the next it wasn't. The smoke curled upward in a thin spiral. I got up to relight it, but the match wouldn't catch. 3 tries, 4. The 5th hissed and flared, but the moment I leaned in, the flame bent away. Like the candle didn't want to be relit. She laughed nervously. "Maybe it's a sign." I forced a grin. My hands were still shaking. We returned to the table. The rest of the candles seemed fine. Their flames steady, almost too steady, like they weren't flickering anymore. That was the first real sign something was wrong. Candlelight flickers. Everyone knows that. But these flames sat perfectly still, upright, tall, like tiny soldiers, watching. I didn't say anything. I poured more wine. I reached for her hand. But her eyes weren't on me anymore. They were fixed on the hallway. "Did someone just walk by?" she whispered. I turned. Nothing. Just the hallway lined with candles, stretching to the bedroom door. "No one's there," I said. "I saw someone," she insisted. "They were tall and wrong." My skin prickled. I stood, heart hammering, and walked down the hall. Every step felt heavier than the last. I checked the bedroom, the closet, the bathroom. Nothing. When I returned, she was standing, clutching the back of her chair, her face pale. "One of the candles moved," she said. "I swear it was closer than before." "They're just candles," I said, but my voice sounded thin, unconvincing. I checked them, all aligned, all burning steady. Then the music stopped. The Bluetooth speaker died mid-note, a soft click, like something unplugged it, but it wasn't battery-powered, it was still connected. I tried my phone, no signal, no Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi, just dead air. "We should blow them out," she said. "Let's just use our phones." I nodded. I picked up the nearest candle. The flame grew. Just a little, barely noticeable. But it grew. I paused. Then I blew. Nothing happened. I tried again, harder. Still, the flame stood tall, unmoving. She grabbed the napkin, tried to smother it. The napkin burned. Fast, too fast. She dropped it with a yelp. The corner of the tablecloth caught fire. I grabbed water, doused it, hands trembling. Smoke filled the room. The candles kept burning. "Get your phone," I said. "We'll call someone. Get help." She ran to her purse. I followed. But when we opened our phones, they lit up with the same message. "Do not leave the table." We stared at each other. "Is this a joke?" she asked. "Did you do this?" I shook my head. "No, I swear." The hallway candle flickered, the first movement I'd seen since dinner started. It swayed side to side, like something breathing on it. Then it went out. So did the next one. And the next. Darkness crept down the hall like spilled ink, snuffing each flame one by one. Slow, deliberate. "Back to the table," I whispered. We sat, silent, waiting. Only the dining candles remained, still perfectly still. Then something stepped into the room. I didn't see it, not clearly, but the air shifted, grew colder, denser, like we were underwater. The flames turned blue. My heart stopped. She reached for my hand, but her fingers didn't feel like hers. They were too thin, too cold. I looked up. She was still across from me, staring. I looked down. The hand in mine was pale, bone thin, nails blackened. I screamed, jumped back. The chair toppled. The hand disappeared. She screamed too. Then every candle flared, high, white-hot flames that touched the ceiling. The fire alarms didn't go off. In the center of the table, between our plates, a third-place setting appeared. A fork, a knife, a glass filled with something dark. We hadn't put it there. We hadn't brought that glass. "I think it wants to eat," she whispered. The room groaned. The floor beneath us creaked. Something moved under the rug, something big. The candles dimmed. The shadows grew longer. I stood. I wanted to run, but every door was gone. The kitchen was just a wall. The hallway vanished. Windows bricked over. It was just us, the table, the candles, and the thing in the chair beside us. It was never meant to be romantic. Not for us. We were guests, unwanted, uninvited, sacrifices. The flame in the center candle turned black. And then everything went dark. I woke up alone, cold, hungry, surrounded by unlit candles. The table was empty. Her chair was overturned. Her purse was still there. But she wasn't. And the message on my phone was different now. "Second course coming soon." I never used to believe in omens. Bad luck, sure. Coincidences, of course. But omens? Signs from the universe that something is deeply wrong? That always felt like superstition to me, until that dinner. She called it our restart, a chance to reconnect. We'd been fighting more than usual. Long silences, cold shoulders, too many nights falling asleep back to back. So when she suggested a candlelight dinner at home, no phones, no distractions, just the two of us, I agreed. She cooked. I set the table. The power had been acting strange all day, flickering, surging, and then finally going out around sunset. We lit the candles and sat down just as the last of the natural light vanished. At first it was nice. We talked like we hadn't in weeks. She smiled more than I'd seen her smile in months. The room glowed in warm amber, shadows dancing softly on the walls. Until the shadows stopped moving. I didn't notice at first, but she did. "The light's not flickering anymore," she said, looking around. She was right. Every candle burned perfectly still, like the air had frozen. No draft, no movement. The kind of stillness that hurts your ears. Then I saw it. Behind her. A shadow that didn't belong. It wasn't cast by any object. It wasn't shaped like anything in the room. It stood against the far wall, tall, narrow, unmoving. I blinked. It was gone. I didn't say anything. Didn't want to ruin the night. Maybe I imagined it. She stood to bring in dessert. That's when the first candle went out. Just snuffed. No sound, no puff. The room darkened slightly. She froze. "Did you see that?" "Probably a draft," I said, but the air was still thick, unmoving. She picked up the matchbox, tried to relight it. The match broke. Another candle went out. "Maybe we should just eat dessert in the living room," she said. Her voice didn't sound like her own. It wavered, thin and uncertain. I nodded, but when we stood, The chairs screeched against the floor, louder than they should have, like the sound had been amplified. Then the door to the hallway slammed shut. Neither of us had touched it. We both turned to the hallway. It was pitch black now. The light from the candles didn't reach it anymore. It felt like the edge of the world. I stepped forward. "Don't," she said quickly. "Let's just stay here." The shadows began to move again, but not how they should. Not like candlelight. They slid against the walls, thick and wrong, as if they had mass. One moved across the ceiling, then down behind her. I tried to say something, tried to scream. Her eyes widened before I could. She spun, but nothing was there. Then all the candles blew out at once. We were in total darkness. Something whispered. I couldn't make out the words, but it came from every direction at once. A deep, gravelly rasp, like leaves dragging across wet pavement. I reached for her. Her hand was ice cold. "We need to leave," I whispered. We stumbled in the dark, bumping into chairs, the table, each other. I found the hallway door, tried the knob, locked. It had never had a lock before. Behind us, something scraped the wall. I turned. In the dark, I could just barely make out a shape. Taller than the ceiling, bent to fit, crawling. She screamed. I grabbed her hand, pounded on the door. It wouldn't budge. Then a click. The hallway light blinked on, dim, flickering. The shape was gone. We didn't speak. We just ran. Out the door, down the stairs, into the street. We stayed at a hotel that night. Didn't sleep, didn't talk. The next morning we went back. The candles were untouched. The table still set. Dessert never served. But something had changed. A photo of us that hung in the hallway, one I didn't even like, had been replaced. Same frame, same wall. But the photo was different. We were seated at the dinner table. And there was a third person between us. Tall, narrow, face blurred. I took it down, opened the back. No file, no printing date, just a blank sheet with one word scrawled in red ink. Welcome. She left that day. I stayed. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to believe it was all a trick, that we'd imagined it. Last night, the power flickered again, then died. I sat at the table, lit one candle. The flame burned tall. The shadows didn't move. It started with a reservation at a restaurant that didn't exist. She found it online. The Hollow Hearth, a candlelit pop-up dinner experience with rave reviews and no address until you confirmed. Exclusive, she said. Romantic, she promised. I should have questioned it more. The link she sent led to a sleek website, minimal and mysterious. Pictures of deep red tablecloths, flickering flames, tall windows with curtains always drawn. The menu changed nightly. The only constant was this. No cell phones, no photos, no interruptions. The address arrived an hour before our reservation. It wasn't a restaurant. It was an old house, half hidden in a forgotten neighborhood, behind a wrought iron gate and creeping ivy. It smelled like damp wood and roses that had died long ago. But the candles, they were everywhere. Hundreds of them lit the front steps, the hallway, the dining room. It was beautiful in a way that made your stomach tighten. Like walking into a dream you half remembered from childhood, before you woke up screaming. A woman in black met us at the door. She didn't smile, didn't speak. She took our coats and pointed us silently to a table in the center of the room. There were other couples, all silent, all seated, all wide-eyed. A string quartet played in the corner, soft and slow, though their bows never moved in sync. The waitress brought the first course without asking, a red soup that steamed strangely cold. The bowl was warm, but the liquid chilled my throat. It tasted like iron and smoke. She smiled at me. Told you it'd be unique. The candles never flickered. I looked up and noticed the chandeliers were unlit. The only light in the entire place came from the candles. No wires, no bulbs, no fire alarms. Then the music stopped. Not abruptly. It was more like it faded into silence. The quartet had vanished. So had the other guests. Where did they go? I asked. She looked around confused. There were people here, right? We stood. The room was too quiet. No kitchen sounds, no footsteps. Just the hum of flame. I stepped toward the door. It was gone. In its place, more candlelight. Endless rows of it, lining a hallway that hadn't been there before. We turned. Our table was gone too. We should leave, she whispered. We can't. We walked forward, or maybe backward. The direction didn't matter. The hallway just kept changing. Sometimes carpeted, sometimes tiled. Once we walked across a floor of polished bone. She stopped in front of a mirror. This wasn't here before. In the reflection, we looked the same. Almost, but something was wrong with our eyes. They were all black, no whites, no irises, just empty. And behind us, a figure, tall, wearing what looked like melted wax for skin. Eyes hollow as the candles burning around us. We turned, nothing. Then all the candles went out. The silence shattered. A scream that didn't sound human echoed through the hallway. Then another. Closer. I grabbed her hand. We ran. The walls changed as we moved. One moment velvet, the next covered in crawling vines. Once they bled. She tripped. Her hand slipped from mine. I turned and she was gone. Just like that. I called her name. My voice sounded muffled, like shouting underwater. Then the candles lit again, one by one, from the floor up. I followed the light. It led me to a room, the dining room, except now the walls were rotted. The table was long, filled with guests, faces slumped forward, unmoving. Candles burned in their eye sockets. She sat at the end of the table, still, pale. I ran to her. Her head slowly turned. Her mouth moved, but it wasn't her voice. He eats what you offer. She stood, walked stiffly to the table, lifted the lid off a silver platter. My name was carved into the meat. She smiled, not with love, with hunger. The guests stirred. I backed away, but the walls were gone. Only endless rows of tables, endless candles, and him, wax-skinned, eyeless, grinning with too many teeth. I woke up screaming in our bed. Next to me, her side was cold. I thought it was just a dream. Until I saw the wax smeared across the floor, and the smell of roses that had died long ago.